Hey, good morning, YouTube. It's Ricochet with Thunderstruck Transport. Welcome to my channel, Nothing But Trucking. I'm here. It's 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday morning, here in Denver, Colorado. I am here at the Safeway warehouse here on I-70 and Dahlia Street, basically. And it's kind of weird. Back when I was 16, 17 years old, my dad called me, said he wasn't feeling very good. He was at work. He went to work at like 4 o'clock in the morning, I guess. And he called me and said he wasn't feeling good, wanted me to pick him up because he was going to go to the doctor. And it was here. I don't know if you can see that guard shack. I don't know how clear it's getting. But he was there, and he'd had a heart attack. So the last thing I remember seeing of him was laying on the floor in that building as the paramedics were zapping him with the, the paddles back then. But he died right there on that floor. So it's kind of weird being here. I got a lot of baggage shit with my dad, but it's neither here nor there. It's just kind of weird. I've never been on the property since then. I've been by it a million times, but actually checking in and looking at the floor, where he was when he died, was just kind of a weird thing. I don't know. Kind of a weird morning. I didn't think it would be that way. But anyway, hey, yeah. Ain't that a happy story for a Tuesday morning for you? Oh, goodness. Anyway, so we're getting ready to back in here and get this trailer unloaded. So I'll be back with you guys here after a bit. Hey guys, all right. So yeah, we are backed into the door here on the back side of this place. Just got the red light on my door, which means they are getting ready to unload this thing. So yeah, it's a very weird feeling. I can't explain it. So anyway, I spent most of my life here in Denver. We moved here from Florida when I was a kid, in a school bus that my dad converted to a motor home. And we lived in that when we came here, lived in a little RV trailer, campground park type of thing, close right at the base of the mountains, I guess, and on the west side of town, until Dad got working, I think working here actually. And then we got our, got an apartment, got a house, and this is kind of where I was raised. So it's weird. Like I said, I've come through Denver I lived in Denver, most of my life, long after, that, and I've been by this place 100 times, but this is the first time that I've actually set foot on the property. So it was kind of strange. But anyway, hopefully we'll be getting loaded today, or I'm sure I will be getting loaded today. Hopefully I'll be getting loaded today, and most likely headed down towards Phoenix area again, and then back into Florida. That'll finish out basically a week on the road, and go home for a couple days and do it again. Maybe have my wife join me on the next trip if we do. Yeah, that'll be kind of cool. I love it when my family comes with me. And we'll see how that goes. So I'm here getting unloaded, guys. So anyway, we'll check in with you later with an update on what's going on today. All right, so it's the next morning, and pretty uneventful after, what had happened originally. Got backed into the door, and I went to bed for probably about an hour or so while they were unloading me, and They got done with me probably about 5 o'clock this morning. I pulled out here on the street and decided to go back to bed for just another couple of hours before I started today. So, yeah, yesterday was kind of weird. Like I said, I've never sat foot on that property since since he had passed away. That was in 1982, I think it was. I'm pretty sure, pretty close to it. I was like 16 years old at the time. But yeah, what was really weird though, it was kind of funny, is I got chills. I just had this weird feeling over me. I don't know if it was just visiting the spot again or what it was. But as I was walking up to the guard shack, everything was replaying in my mind of that day, because what had happened is he had called that morning. I think my mom was in the shower because she was going to work, and I was getting ready to go to school. And I was in high school, and I was getting ready to go pick up my friend Scott, and then we go to school. And then my dad had called and said that he wasn't feeling good. Didn't know if he was having a heart attack. I can't remember if he said he thought he was having one or whatever the case was, but he wanted me to take him to the doctor and or the hospital or whatever. So he said he'd pick him up at the guard shack. That's where he's waiting. So I'm like, okay. So told my mom what was going on. Of course, she worried and hurried and got dressed, and I told her, well, you do that, I'll go run my buddy Scott up because he was expecting me. I'll run him up to school really quick, even though I probably didn't have to, but I did. And then by the time, it wasn't far anyway, so by the time I got back home to pick up my mom, which was on the way anyway, we didn't really lose any time. Grabbed her and we went down to where I was last night. And as we pulled up to the guard shack, that's when your stomach hits the floor, kind of. There was an ambulance there, there was a fire truck, and a couple police cars, I think, was there, and all blocking the entrance to this big warehouse, this Safeway warehouse. And so we parked the car right there by the police cars and walked up. And the guard shack really wasn't big. It's enough for maybe 2-3 people to fit in. It's maybe 6 feet wide. It's really about all it is. It's just literally a little guard shack. And that's where the paramedics were, and my dad was laying on the floor, and his feet were halfway out the door. He was only laying in there halfway, I guess. But the police officer had saw us approaching, and of course walked up towards us. And I remember him asking, if who we were, and my mom kind of told him, and he says, "Well, come on over here." He said, "Let's get some information from you so we can and let the paramedics do what they're doing." Of course, she was freaking out a little bit. Well, I walked up to the guard shack and looked in at what they were doing, and I had seen the paddles. Back in the 80s, it was the big. Now it's just little stick-on thingies. But back then the big old paddles, clear. And that's what I saw right when they said clear. And he jolted and everything, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit. But I had went, and at that point, another officer had come and got me to bring me into my mom, and told us what was going on. Well, supposedly, I guess they got his heart going again, and they put him in the ambulance, and the police officer said that he'll escort us down there, which was kind of cool because we got a police escort through the red lights, and even got to jump a curb and go against head-on traffic, chasing this police car, for a 16-year-old kid driving the car. I thought, that's pretty cool, and we got to the hospital, and I remember the doctor coming out later saying that they had lost him. I think he probably was already dead, and they just pronounced him dead there at the hospital. So I'm replaying this day in my mind as I'm walking up last night to the guard shack, and it was just a very somber, but at the same time kind of an eerie feeling. And he saw me walk up towards the guard shack, and it's not one that you enter. It's only they're the only ones that are supposed to be in there, basically, because there's no room. And he slid the window open, and he said, "Hi, sir, can I help you?" And I said I was there, but I wasn't, and I was kind of looking around at everything, kind of replaying what had happened, 40 years ago. And he said something a couple of times, and then he kind of got my attention, and I walked directly over towards him, and I did something he probably didn't expect. I opened the door, because I wanted, where my dad was laying. I opened the door, and he kind of jumped back, and he was a younger kid, probably early 20s, if not late teens. I don't know. I'm sure he probably at least 21. But he said, "Sir," and I was just staring at the floor, like I could see my dad there. And I was just staring at the floor, and I'd kind of seen him out of his peripheral vision. He looked at the floor and was looking at me, and he kept saying, "Sir, can I help you?" And "Sir," and then he kind of said it again a little bit louder, and he kind of put his hands up like he didn't want me to come in or something. And I kind of like, yeah, hey, sorry, man, I'm here to make a delivery. I said, but, and I was looking at the floor again, and he looked, and I said, yeah. I said, I'm sorry, but my dad died on that floor back in the 80s when he used to work here. His eyes got big. He was like, I don't know what he'd expect. He probably didn't go back into that, the guard shack there at all that night. He probably was like, screw this, man. But what made it even weirder, though, is that in 1990, just like 10, 12 years later, I went to work for the Justice Department in the Federal Prison Bureau, and I worked with the SORT team and the prison transfer team that, flew with the marshals and transferred prisoners, around. And, I only did like 2 flights on the Nightingale, or the prisoner transport with the U.S. Marshals. Everything else I did, in state, and more like corrections and SORT team. Anyway, long story short, back when I had started training for that, we went down to Glencoe, Georgia, to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center down there. And there was me, another girl, and a couple of other guys that were all part of this same location. FCI Inglewood here in Colorado is where I worked at. And we got a pass one weekend to go off of the base to, because kind of like military basic training when you go for this federal law enforcement training. And we had just had our sniper training that day, or firearms training that day. And then we had the rest of the day. It was only half a day, had the rest of the day to take off. So we were able to leave the base. And there was a water park about 15 minutes away that we got a ride to. And we all went to the Lazy River. It was the first thing we wanted to do, was just go to the Lazy River. And we all kind of linked our tubes together and kind of made a big raft. We all just kind of was talking and getting to know each other. But this girl there was a security guard at that warehouse that my dad worked at. We had never known this until this particular instance. And she was talking about, how her job was, and she works there at night, the night shift. She said she didn't like it because she heard stories of this ghost that would walk around that used to be there, and that freaked me out. I was like, whoa. I said, what? And then she told me about this story, and I don't know if she actually saw it or if she heard the stories that somebody else supposedly saw it, but supposedly there's a ghost that walks the halls. Now, I have no idea if it's supposedly my father, or who knows how many other people may have died. Who knows who it could have been. But it was just the coincidence of everything really freaked me out. And then when I had told her what had happened to my father 10, 12, 13 years earlier, that freaked her out. So we were both freaking. So, yeah. So to kind of come full circle, it's kind of like visiting ghosts last night, and it was just kind of weird. So anyway, that's about that. So we're all done. Everything's good. I'm empty, and hopefully I won't go back there again for a while. Although it was a nice place to unload. They got everything done quickly, and everything was done via the cell phone. I didn't have to see anybody except my initial check-in, and even that I didn't have to do that. I could have done all that online by texting an app that they have that a lot of places since COVID hit. A lot of things are done without even talking to anybody, which is fine with me. Leave my bills in the trailer. They text me when it's done. I pay over the phone if I got to pay for unloading fees, which that's a ridiculous thing anyway. But and then they put everything back in the back of the trailer and text you and say you're done, you can leave. It's great. Don't have to worry about talking about anybody. Stay in my truck. I love it. Anyway, we did all that, so we're good to go, and we're just now waiting on the paperwork for my next load so we can start another adventure. So I'll probably head into Arizona and then back to Florida, or maybe I'll just go back to Florida now. I'm not sure. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Yeah, and hope you all enjoyed the ghost story. That's about as close as I can get to it. Well, I do got some pretty scary, weird ghost things that have happened to me in my life. I'm sure we all do from time to time, but I've got a few. Maybe I'll share a couple here every now and then. But that's the one that actually hit closest to home because it was actually part of my family. But anyway, thanks for watching, y'all, and thanks for subscribing if you already have. If you haven't, subscribe, smash that button, and share the channels. Because I'm sure you've heard it before. That creates an algorithm that makes my channels more whatever. You know the thing, as Biden says. You know the thing. So anyway, again, thanks for watching. Y'all have a great day, and appreciate you stopping by.